Europe is being torn apart by immigrants committing rape, violence, assaults, and nothing is being done about it. So we have a few stories today. They're kind of grouped up because they're all the same topic. It's all immigrant commits an illegal act in Europe, some country in Europe, because every country treats their immigrants the same. They roll them in, they bring out the red carpet for them, give them everything, give them a bunch of free stuff, free housing and free phones or whatever nonsense. I saw this in Spain. They were giving away free phones. Whatever, they get a bunch of benefits. All right, in the UK, they set you up in a 5-star hotel. And what do the immigrants give back to the country that takes them in? They commit crimes, rapes, assaults. And this is one of them. As you can see, Sweden says no to rape convicts deportation as crime wasn't long enough. And so this person committed a rape, which was less than 10 minutes. This sick person, this sick fuck, all right, raped a poor 16-year-old girl. And because the rape wasn't long enough, I believe the judge or the law, it says it's like 10 minutes that it has to last. And if it doesn't meet that requirement, then I guess you can't deport. I guess he has to stay, guys. I'm sorry. I guess he's a Swedish citizen now. He raped a woman for less than 10 minutes. We have to keep him now. He's one of ours. You know what I mean? Yazid Mohammed, most Swedish name I've ever heard. Yazid Mohammed. You can only imagine what religion he's a part of. With the last name like Muhammad. A lot of these stories make me upset, by the way, because a lot of them deal with sexual crimes. Obviously, they're the most heinous types of crimes, and they're hardest to report on, kind of without emotion. But I think it drives the point home because I think a lot of people, especially Americans who aren't living through this, right? Maybe you're European, it's like a little bit easier. If you're living in a crime-ridden neighborhood in the UK, you see this stuff. So you know what the issue is, and maybe you know somebody who's dealt with it or know of somebody who, a friend of a friend who's had to deal with this issue in some capacity, dealt with immigrants in some capacity. But here in the US, we don't have this problem like you guys do anywhere in Europe. And so I don't think many people here really know the dangers of Islam, because a lot of these immigrants are Muslim, of course. A lot of Arab and Middle Eastern, North African immigrants travel to the UK and other parts of Europe. Unlike us, we have a lot more. Obviously, for obvious geographical reasons, we have more South American and Mexican immigrants, and they don't do the same. They don't perpetuate crimes the same way. Of course, we have our crime problems, right? But we don't have the same problem that the UK and Europe does. I keep saying the UK. It's the first thing that comes to mind. I keep up with UK politics more than the rest of Europe, but this applies to all of Europe, as you're seeing here with Sweden. Oh, about Islam, I was saying I don't think most people here in the United States realize the problem with Islam. I was talking to a Catholic person, and she said that I was explaining some of the issues with Islam. She was like, "Oh, what's so bad about Islam?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Muhammad raped a 9-year-old, like perpetuated a bunch of war crimes to grow his religion, threatened people with death for apostasy. What isn't wrong with Islam? It's the worst. It's, you know what I mean? He is a prime candidate for the Antichrist." So let's read this story. And if you don't think so, then tell me why a bunch of Muslim immigrants have the same story when it comes to rapes and assaults. And let's read a little bit of this. A Swedish court's decision not to deport an Eritrean refugee. Now, the rapist is from Eritrea, which is a majority Muslim country, but it is a slight majority. I think it's like 50% 50% Muslim and like 40% Christian, something like that. So it's kind of split 50-50. But I feel like we could assume this guy isn't a Christian, right? Convicted of raping a 16-year-old girl has sparked global outrage, with Donald Trump Jr., the son of U.S. President Donald Trump, saying, "What the hell is going on in the world?" I'm going to read the Twitter post, actually, because it's a little bit shorter. This was reported October 22nd, so a few days ago. But the reason I bring it up now is because there's a few more stories. You can see all these tabs up here are stories regarding immigrants. So this fella, this sick person is what I should say, not fella. The rape took place September 1st last year, when Maya missed her bus and was walking through a pedestrian tunnel after finishing her shift at McDonald's. So you can imagine being a poor 16-year-old Swedish girl walking home after working being a hardworking person, a normal civilized person, a functioning member of society, working your job, right? Earning whatever, a meager wage, right? A respectful thing to do, earning your wage as a 16-year-old girl, making money for whatever little things you have to spend on as a teenager, you need to buy as a teenager. You have your whole life ahead of you. And some sick immigrant from the third world gets imported into your country and rapes you, and now your life is over, Some person that wasn't supposed to be there, uneducated, probably follows some false religion, rapes you because they don't have a respect for women, because the people in your country voted for insane ideas, and your life is over. I mean, you know, not to say it's literally over. Obviously, if you're a victim of rape, you have a life, you still have your life ahead of you, but it's changed. This person has ruined this poor woman's life. The Court of Appeal noted that the man has refugee status. Under Swedish law, deporting a refugee requires that the crime committed constitutes an exceptionally serious offense, and that allowing them to remain in Sweden will pose a serious threat to public order and safety. Now, I don't know how a rape being less than 10 minutes constitutes it not being exceptionally serious. In what insane world? Now, I think I need to find a tweet regarding the judge. I need to find more information regarding the judge. I don't know if it's here, down here, but the judge gives like their explanation. Here's Donald Trump Jr. reacting. He's saying, Europe is at, well, it was only a short rape, so we won't get rid of a total piece of shit in our country. WTF, wake up, people. We are virtue signaling ourselves into extinction. Now, this is important because virtue signaling in the US is like a sport. People are competing at it here. But Europe is a lot better at it. Or worse, I guess, depending on how you look at it. But they're better at bringing in worse people into their country than we are, luckily. But we're not far off. We're importing Muslims too. We're having crimes like this too. And if we're not careful, we're gonna end up like Europe pretty soon. Okay, so there's actually not much in this report. I'm just gonna close it. This is the girl. The video I have in the other tab is the girl posted by Tommy Robinson. The girl reacting to the rape, and yeah, what she thinks of. I don't know if she's reacting to the. Yeah, she's reacting to it obviously recently. Okay, so this is the court's explanation for their decision on why it wasn't deemed serious enough to deport this person. They said rape is in many cases considered an exceptionally serious offense that could lead to the deportation of a refugee, but an assessment must be based on all circumstances involving in the individual case. Given the nature and duration of the offense in question, the Court of Appeals finds that while the crime is serious, it does not constitute an exceptionally serious offense that would warrant a deportation order for Yazid Mohammed. The request for deportation is therefore rejected, which is just sickening. This is the poor girl that was raped. This is a 16-year-old, nice-looking young lady, and just insanity. Okay, here's the judge, Lena Berggren. Exactly, this person pointing out, this person is in a position of privilege. She works as a judge. She has a cushy job. She probably lives in a nice area. Probably never has to walk home at night after working a blue-collar job, as this person stated. I don't know if McDonald's would be considered a blue-collar job, though. I don't think that's, yeah. But she ain't doing shift work, all right? She's sitting on her ass making decisions about whether a rape is serious or not. Meanwhile, she doesn't have to suffer through this. So we have insane people making decisions like this. And meanwhile, they're importing more immigrants. I mean, that's the problem. The insane people take over the institutions, right? And they make all the decisions. They become, judges and doctors and officials and policymakers and presidents. And that's how you lose your country. Little by little, we're eroding at what makes a country safe, what makes a society work, what brings us all together. You're just poking holes in the fabric of society. Now, this is a video posted by Tommy Robinson of the girl. Her name is Maya Aberg, and she's talking about she's reacting to the decision of the court to not deport this person. Now, I actually don't know what his punishment is. I'm sure he's going to jail, right? He's still going to jail, but that's another story. Oh, he's sentenced to 3 years in prison. Okay, I already said that. I mean, 3 years in prison is insane as it is. I mean, the deportation isn't even the biggest issue. Actually, the biggest issue is probably the 3 years of rape. 3 years? Bro. Yeah, change this woman's life forever, for the rest of her life. And 3 years is just insanity. Oh, yeah. I'm going to play the video. I'm going to read it as she speaks. Obviously, she speaks Swedish. I still feel sick when I think about it. I've told you this 1,000 times, especially for the police and when I have been to the district court. But I still feel that it's really bad. During the whole school year last year, I was hardly at school. Now and then I still dream about it. And I've been really scared to go out and walk by myself. I almost never go out by myself now. I
Jag
still
bryter
break down when I
fortfarande
sit
ihop
and
när
talk
jag
about it for a long
suttit och
time and
pratat
get
väldigt
into
länge
details.
och kommit in på detaljer. Alltså det blir som att jag
It's like I'm
återupplevde
reliving
det
again and I
och
feel
jag
his
känner
hands
hans
on me.
händer som
But luckily I
kryper
have my
varje
great
natt
friends and
mot
my
mina
parents
vänner. Och mina föräldrar som har
who have been there for me every single day. I will always be somewhat affected by this.
Jag.
I really wish now when other girls hear this that is also why I want to do it.
När andra tjejer hör det här, det är också därför jag vill göra det.
But it makes sense. That they should also think that it is worth reporting, though it may not go through, but it may actually be worth it because it may also help another girl. So you know, this poor young girl is she's a very strong woman speaking out for other fellow victims for trying to prevent other women from becoming victims, and obviously speaking out about what happened to her. It's great that she has support around her, but as she said, her life is going to be forever changed by this. And this sick person who was imported from a third world country is going to get 3 years in jail and then be free to roam Sweden again. In 3 years, these people could cross paths again. And who's to say that this person is going to be reformed after coming out of jail? Probably not, let's be honest. People don't get reformed in jail. I don't think that's what jail's for, to me, especially with a crime as heinous as rape. You know, you change somebody's life like that. That should be worth your life. You should. That's the cost of that is your own life, because you change. Like I said, you change somebody's life. It's an eye for an eye. You know what I mean? But one immigrant story is not enough. Let's talk about another immigrant rape story. A father dies. This is in France. A father dies of grief after a daughter raped and beheaded by illegal immigrants. You heard that right. Now, I have to preface this by saying this is a weird case because the immigrant was a woman who committed the rape. So it's a bit of a weird. It's obviously kind of different from the usual stories. It's men committing rapes, but either way, this person's from Algeria. Tragedy in France as the father of 12-year-old Lola Daviet, who was raped and beheaded by an illegal immigrant, has now died from grief. Now, the rape and death homicide happened in 2022, and the man died recently from alcoholism, and they labeled it death due to grief. Now, this is how the person died. The child, she was 12. She was found stuffed in a plastic trunk. The family was devastated after years of injustice, immigration chaos, and state negligence cost yet another innocent life. I have more on this story here. The immigrant was an Algerian woman living in France illegally. The illegal immigrant's name is Dabia Benkered. She was living in the apartment complex under expulsion order. I don't know what that is. I suppose about to be deported, I assume is what that means. Okay, I'm going to read this. This is a very graphic description of what happened that day, just so you guys get an idea how sick these people are from these third world countries. Bankered, then 24, allegedly lured Lola, the 12-year-old, into her apartment before attacking her with scissors and a box cutter, partially severing her head. Lola's head, nose, and mouth were bound with tape, leading to her suffocation. It was then alleged that Bankered forced the young girl to undress and perform a sex act. While this poor girl is bleeding out because she has scissors, she got some scissors put in her neck, and this sick person decides to rape and ultimately kill her. On Wednesday, Lola's heartbroken mother, Delphine Daviet, recounted in court how her husband, Joanne, who had been sober, resumed drinking the day their daughter was killed. He drank from morning to night. She stated that he died of grief and was tormented by his demons. He died in February of last year. Now, this is the mother, Delphine Daviet, and who could blame him? You know, to have your 12-year-old daughter killed like that in your apartment complex by some sick immigrant from another country is just heartbreaking, man. And obviously he was overcome by grief, and alcohol was his way of dealing with it. He left a note on the door of the illegal immigrant Bankered saying, obviously this letter was directed at his daughter, saying, "My darling, I still don't understand why there was so much cruelty and barbarity towards you, you who were so kind. I can't wait to see you again. Your dad who loves you for life." So Bankered was in France since 2013. At the age of 14, she showed up in France illegally. She was issued an expulsion order after overstaying a student visa in August 2022, just 2 months prior to Lola's murder. This person lived illegally. This sick person lived illegally in France. For how long is that? 23, like almost 10 years illegally. And 2 months after she was set to be deported, she commits 2 months before she committed the murder, she was set to be deported. And this all could have been prevented if she just simply wasn't let into the country. You import the third world, you get the third world, And unfortunately, France needs to wake up. This was caused by people who vote a certain way. And now they're seeing the result of the way they vote. And now, unfortunately, they might not be able to vote their way out of it, because if you import people from these countries, obviously they're going to start voting as well. I brought this up in another video, the NYC mayoral race. The guy that's leading the race, what's his name? Mamadani or whatever the heck his name is. I don't care. The Muslim guy. You guys know what I'm talking about. The guy who eats with his hands. He's leading the race. But the only reason he's leading is because a majority of the people, or a good amount of the people that support him, are immigrants. They're not born in New York. Whenever you remove the votes of immigrants and you see the polls by people who are U.S. citizens or people born in the U.S., overwhelmingly, they're in favor of Cuomo and not Mamadani or whatever. Dude, I should probably look up his name. I keep butchering it. Mamdani, what is his name? Mamdani. Zoran Mamdani. Yeah, it seems he's only leading the race because of immigrants. And if you remove those people from the polls, then he's losing. He's losing the race. And so what I'm saying is, when you import people, they'll vote in your election. They skew the results of your election. And even when you want to undo what you've done through years of voting, you won't be able to, because they are now part of your society and you have to acquiesce to their opinions. They are now part of your society, and it's no longer what it used to be. What's done cannot be undone. Not perfectly, not easily. It won't return to the way it used to be. There will always remain some lingering effect of the immigration system as it is now. So this was posted by Tommy Robinson. This is a 5-year-old son screaming after his mother was murdered by an illegal immigrant named Deng Chol Majek. I have no idea where that name is from. And he stabbed her in the head 19 times. She worked in the Park Inn Hotel in Walsall, housing these invaders at the taxpayer's expense.
To him that the person...
I have to listen to this.
He asked if Rihanna was okay because he knew that we were at the hospital. Alex had to explain to him that her bad man had hurt her.
So this is them explaining how the 5-year-old son of the woman who was killed reacted.
So I initially explained to him that she had a poorly brain, and we tried really hard, and the doctors tried really hard, but they couldn't fix her brain. So she had to go to heaven. The scream that left that child that day will haunt me for the rest of my life.
I've never heard a child cry like that. I never want to hear a child cry like that again.
People would sit here and they say, I hate him, I just feel nothing but anger. But at this moment in time, I feel nothing. Because he, regardless of who it is that did this to her, we lost a sister, my mum lost a daughter. It could have been anybody who did this. Our energy isn't in him, and it never will be in him. It's about keeping Rhiannon's memory alive and making a positive change in her memory.
When she says it could have been anyone, I don't know if she's referring to the victim or to the perpetrator, because the perpetrator couldn't have been anyone. It's overwhelmingly people from one part of the world. It's overwhelmingly Muslims, Arabs, Middle Easterns living in the UK. Or in Europe, any part of Europe for that matter. This person has an adequate, sarcastic reaction, mind you, just to preface. He says, there should be no hate, no outrage, which is what the woman just said. Like, I don't feel hate to this. You should feel hate. You should be angry, and you should use that anger to fuel you to make positive change in your country. He says, there only needs to be justice, and Western civilization has abandoned fair and equal justice for the candy of leftist virtue. Sympathy for the perpetrator, especially if he is an immigrant, is the new value, replacing public safety. And it kind of sounds like that's what she's saying. Like, it's sympathy, like, we don't care about him. We're worried about making a change. I agree making change is the most important thing, but you can't do it cold and level-headed, and no, you have to be angry. You need to show, look, here, this person puts it well. It's sad that the family suggest anybody could have done this. Like I mentioned, it's not just anybody. It's one specific group of people in a country that's not theirs. We know that's simply not true. This dangerous denial is exactly why Rhiannon is dead. Exactly. These people, they see the effects of what they voted in, and they say, it could have been anybody. We just need a safer environment. No, it couldn't have been anybody. And you do need a safer environment, but not by increasing the policing, or, I mean, obviously you need that too. But what you need is to stop importing the third world. Many innocent lives have already been lost, and many more will continue to be if we keep turning a blind eye to the issue of immigration. Yes. The problem isn't policing. Of course, it is a problem, but that's not the source. The source is the people coming from a specific part of the world. They're getting imported, and the imports are causing the crime. We have to stop importing them. It's a fact that leftists have to accept, and people are lying to themselves, like this poor woman who has been deluded by, brainwashed by woke propaganda in the UK and told we need to make our place safer. You do, by not importing migrants. This is a perfect meme to encompass what a lot of people in England are going through. This is, I don't mean to make light of the situation, but the meme is funny. It's a young girl saying, she's dressed in a hijab. She says, "Daddy, what did you do during the Islamic takeover of England?" And the dad says, "I avoided being called Islamophobic." And the son says, "Fucking loser." This is exactly, people are scared to say exactly what the problem is. They say, "Oh, our streets are unsafe." They might see things like this happen, and they might say, "Oh, our streets are unsafe. We need to make it safer. We need better policing. We need the laws. We need the judges to enforce the laws." But the truth is, the problem isn't criminality or upholding the law. The problem is Islam and immigration, and of course Muslim immigrants. But I think immigrants in general. I mean, you can import a certain amount of people, a certain number of people, but they have to match your values. You have to be very careful. You have to vet them, right? If I like how this applies to any other aspect of life, but people fail to see it for their country because it's such a big thing. You're like, oh, they live somewhere in the country. It's very shadowy. You care less about your country than you do about your local community. But think about it. If you were, let's say you had to by force house somebody in your home, but I told you, you can either pick somebody at random or you can have somebody of your choosing. What person in their right mind would pick somebody randomly? You would vet every single person that comes to you and make sure that it's somebody who you want, who's respectful, civilized, who matches your values, who you're going to get along with, to house in your home. You're not just going to take any random person. Why? Because you're not a fucking moron. You're gonna vet them and make sure that you can live with them. They're respectful, decent people who are gonna adhere to your rules. Why would the same not apply for your country? Why is it somehow different when it's some big shadowy thing, some big vague thing? They're gonna live somewhere in the country. I'm not gonna have to deal with them. They're over there somewhere. That's how people think. But we need to have more. This kind of stems from a lack of patriotism. Because you don't see your country as yours. You see your home as yours. You're like, I don't want somebody entering my home, some random person. I want to vet them. But you don't see your country the same way. And what's his name? Woodhousley? I'd have to look up his name. Woodhousley. He had a good quote on this. Oh my gosh. Alexander Fraser Tytler, Lord Woodhousley. He had a quote on the patriotism of rude nations. Let me look it up. This is an excellent quote. This guy was a historian. I think he's from Scotland. Anyways, doesn't matter. You guys can look him up later. Alexander Fraser Tytler. He says, patriotism always exists in the greatest degree in rude nations, that is, poor nations, and in an early period of society. Like all other affections and passions, it operates with the greatest force where it meets with the greatest difficulties. But in a state of ease and safety, as if wanting its appropriate nourishment, it languishes and decays. So he's describing rich nations, those that are in ease and safety. It is a law of nature to which no experience has ever furnished an exception, that the rising grandeur and opulence of a nation must be balanced by the decline of its heroic virtues. And it's so true. The richest nations, Europe, I mean, you think of the first world, you think Europe, you think the United States, you think maybe Japan, China. Now, China's different, all right? They have a strict rules on freedom of speech, right? But like I said, you think the United States, Europe, how do people feel about their country? Here in the US, I mean, just flying an American flag will have you labeled a radical, a crazy person. You see somebody with a flag, you're like, oh, Republican, Why is that the case? Is it because the country is so opulent that it's somehow virtuous to be against your country? It's kind of a weird phenomenon. I don't know that Alexander Fraser Tytler himself knew why this occurred. But if you think about it long enough, you'll see that it's true. People from Mexico, a poor country, show up here in the United States, and they'll more gladly fly that flag than the U.S. flag. Hell, you could be born in the U.S. and still fly the Mexican flag and be virtuous somehow because it's a poor nation. And you have that with all types of immigrants or children of immigrants born here. They'll rather fly their parents' flag than the U.S. flag because it's virtuous to be from a third world country for some reason. You're special somehow because you're from a poor nation, and you get more victimhood points or whatever it may be. And I think conservatives realize that. That's why the Raise the Colors, is that the name of the movement? Raise the Colors in England, in the UK, where they were putting up flags. I think that's why that's such a big deal, right? And at least here in America, we have a good amount more patriotism, even from people who are leftists, which I appreciate, of course, being an American. I think it's a great way to prevent the decadence of the nation is to promote patriotism in young people. If you don't care about your home, it's only a matter of time before it gets taken over, destroyed, before it fails. Now, this is a cheeky tweet by myself. Follow me on Twitter, Not Gentleman's Quarterly, or sorry, not Gentleman's Q. Gentleman's with an E. As you can see in my bio, handsome genius, only ever have correct takes. I mean, those are just facts. I mean, all my tweets are either hilarious or factually true. This is two-tier Keir Starmer. As the guys at Lotus Theater pointed out, the fact that his name is Keir, he has a lot of things that his name rhymes with, and you can make funny names for him. Two-tier Keir. I actually don't know what that means, two-tier Keir. But it sounds funny, so I call him two-tier Keir Starmer. I suppose because he's making like a second class of citizens. I suppose the English people or the UK people are second to immigrants. Anyway, this retard posts on the 23rd. We will not tolerate attacks on our Muslim communities or any form of anti-Muslim hatred. And I say, two-tier Keir is as retarded as world leaders come. You are protecting a class of people who have explicitly stated their goal is to take over the UK, you fucking moron. I use strong language on my Twitter, I'm sorry. Let's see what he has to say.
I'm so sorry that we're meeting in these circumstances because that was a horrific attack that will have impacted every single member of the community. We've just been talking to some of the family members and getting a sense firsthand of the personal impact. I'm really pleased today that we are announcing a further £10 million to support our mosques on top of the support we've already put in. I'm pleased to...
What does that mean, by the way? Support our mosques? First of all, what is the 10 million going for? Second, why? I'm sure they're already like a tax-free entity in the UK. They are in the US at least. Why are you giving them money on top of that? Not only do they not have to pay taxes, they're siphoning money out of the government for who knows what.
Say that. I'm sad to say it as well, in a sense, because I wish we didn't need to put in more security. We shouldn't need...
Hey, you know who also feels that? Two-tier Keir? The people of the UK. They wish you didn't put their hard-earned tax money into the mosques.
To have security in places of worship. And it's sad that we do, but that just reflects the responsibility on me, on the Home Secretary, to do everything we can to tackle hate crime. So sorry. Yeah,
two-tier Keir is a fucking moron. Ask yourself, Keir Starmer, and the English people who agree with what Keir Starmer just said, why are people attacking mosques? All right, I'm sure it's not that prevalent, okay? I actually don't know what even he's referencing here, but why are people upset at the Muslim community in England? Just use your two brain cells and rub them together and try to attempt, if you have two of them to rub together, and think, why are people upset with Muslims in the UK? Can you just imagine for a second one reason why people would... It's because they're overwhelmingly committing most of the crimes in the UK, most of the rapes, assaults. They're thieves. They're rambunctious. They're loud. They don't fit in your culture. They don't have your virtues. What do you think? It's for no reason? Well, people just wake up and they're like, I hate Muslims, actually. You think I hated Muslims a few years ago? No, I didn't even know what Islam... I wanted to join Islam. I was like, oh, it looks kind of cool. I mean, I wish I could still drink, but... I don't know. I like if they have like brotherhood or whatever. They say cool little phrases or whatever. Inshallah. But I didn't care about the Muslims. You can be whatever you want. Who cares? 5 years ago or however long, I'm like, who cares? Just be Muslim. I don't care. That's cool. You're Muslim, that's fine. Why do you think people are waking up? It's because they're seeing what happens when a Muslim community and a predominantly Christian community, or at least one founded in Christianity, one with a nominal Christian background, like the UK, they're starting to see what happens when that mixes. And it's not pretty. This is oil and water. So, Keir, you know what the problem is? The problem is Islam. It's not anti-Muslim hatred, as you call it. And mind you, what do you even mean by hatred? That's such a vague thing. Somebody making a tweet about it. I slightly dislike Islam, and they're going to fucking jail. Imagine an 80-year-old lady posts, I dislike Islam has some problems. She's going to jail for 10 years because the UK doesn't have free speech, anti-hate laws, or whatever the heck they have. Social media anti-hate speech laws. Anyway, all this I say to call out the problems of Islam in Europe, especially the problems of immigration in general. This isn't just about Islam. I'm sure some of the immigrants they might not identify as Muslim, or they might not be like true practicing Muslims, convicted Muslims who truly believe in their faith. But these people come from majority Muslim countries. They come from uneducated countries. They come predominantly from West Asia, from North Africa, from the Middle East. They, like I said already, they cause crimes, they're rapists. And some of them, I assume, are good people. To quote the GOAT. But Trump had, what he said about Mexico or South America, whatever. I don't even remember what that speech was about. But whatever he said about immigrants is very true in the case of the UK. And they could really use somebody like Trump right now. And all of Europe could. So protect your society. Vet the immigrants you bring into your country. Minimize the amount of immigrants you bring in. But if you absolutely want to bring people in, make sure they match your country's virtues, their values. Make sure they live a virtuous life, that they agree with the things, with what the society's rules are. Make sure they support the country, that they want to see the country flourish, the one that they're moving to, and that they're invested in it, and that they don't have some hidden agenda like the Muslims do of trying to overtake the UK and make it a predominantly Muslim country by 2035 or whatever it is that one imam or whatever said. They're explicitly trying to undermine the UK and make it something that it's not. Well, if that's the case, why don't you go back to your shithole country and make it whatever it is you want? All right? Why do you have to come and change one of the first world countries? If your ideals are so great, why is your country not flourishing? Go back to wherever you came from. Why do you have to come here and fix our country? Keep it to yourself. Dude, we have a problem here as well. I think in Houston, in Dallas, I think there's a few mosques as well. I need to make a video on that. I need to make videos on a bunch of stuff, all right? I'm all over the place. Give me video ideas in the comments. I love you guys. You guys are great. Especially, even the hate comments. Not especially the hate comments. I don't love them, but they're all right. I mean, I'll read them, every now and then. I'm not going to respond because they're obviously low IQ, but it's fine. I'll heart a high IQ comment every now and then. I won't respond to any of the comments, but if I make a live stream actually reacting to comments, you guys let me know. All 30 of you. But as Apostate Prophet says, stay away from Islam and vet your immigrants.